Hello, everybody, and welcome to Two Guys Who Need a Haircut, also known as the Daily Chat, the Dice Tower Daily Chat. I'm Mike DeLisio. I'll be your host tonight, and I am very happy to be here. Very much looking forward to chatting with you all. And I have a special guest with me today. This is Mr. Brady Sadler, game designer, let's say extraordinaire. Should we go extraordinaire?
It has to be.
It has to be.
I've been doing it too long. So.
Absolutely. So Brady is now with Blacklist Games. I'll let you give you can give yourself a little introduction here in a minute. But
Sure.
I know Brady through Indianapolis connections, where I moved to Florida from. Brady is now living in Indianapolis, and his brother Adam, who also does design work with him. And so I think of you as a friend first and a designer second. So you're my friend, but also you're a designer. And so I thought that the Dice Tower viewers might have some questions for you. So Brady, maybe you can give a little. Let's give us a detailed CV. Give us every element of your career from beginning to end. But no, just tell us what you want to tell us about yourself.
Well, I got to log into my LinkedIn account now, so just to get all the details straight. So yeah, I've been designing professionally about, I think, since 2011, maybe. I started working at FFG in 2010, but I was a copywriter in the marketing department.
Okay.
So I did that for about a year, but I think everybody there knew I was more geared toward the creative side. So started designing expansions for their, the big AAA games, like Gears of War, Mansions of Madness, the first edition. So I was there until about 2012, I think. And then I ended up moving back to Indiana, working corporate jobs remotely, but I was doing freelance work on the side. And that led into last year getting hired full-time after our big successful Street Masters Aftershock Kickstarter. Blacklist hired us on full-time, and we've been doing that since the beginning of last year. So
awesome. And what I love to see right away, we've got that stupid buzzing that I've been trying. Listen, chat, I'm telling you, I've been dealing with this stupid. I was doing with this exact same setup that I have right now on Ecamm. I did the live top 10 with Z and Tom earlier, and it didn't have an issue. Roy was running Ecamm. It's because there's something to do with me running Ecamm and this setup. So here's what I'm going to try. I'm going to hope for the best. I'm going to try to remove my headphones and just have my sound coming through the computer and see if that takes care of it. I'll give it a second and see if chat will let me know, because I've had a lot of people telling me they're hearing this buzzing. I'm hoping this is going to take care of it. We're going to try. Give me a second here. Okay, so can you say something, Brady? See if I can hear you.
yes, I'm talking right now.
Okay, I do hear you through my computer. So, chat, let me know, is this taking care of the buzzing issue? I'm hoping it's going to take care of the buzzing issue.
Somebody said better. So
Okay. So if that's the case, then I'm going to deal without these stupid headphones. I'm going to throw them in the trash, and we're going to go. All right. So thank you for giving us your background for the people that weren't familiar with you. And let's look at some of these questions, since I think maybe we've got some of the stupid buzzing taken care of. And that was really driving me crazy. All right. So Gator
I couldn't hear
Dave.
it, so I'm fine.
What's that?
I said I couldn't hear it, so it's fine.
Yeah, well, it's been a nightmare. Anyway, Gator Dave asks, do you exclusively design with your brother?
Professionally, mostly, we tend to just kind of work in a pair, and it's kind of a natural progression to that, because when we were working at FFG, we were kind of helping each other out on similar projects, and we were natural playtest partners because we live close and everything. So it just kind of worked out that way. A lot of times we will approach designs independently, but we collaborate on them throughout the process. So some of our games I took the lead on, some games Adam took the lead on. We just consider it a joint project because of how our work process usually goes. Right. Because it's hard to escape each other, even though we try.
Right.
So.
Now, I may have asked you this before, I don't know, but do you feel like there's a certain aspect of design that is your strength versus what Adam's strength might be in the whole process? Because game design is a huge multi-layered process. There's so much involved with it. What do you think is your strength versus Adam's?
Yeah, so I've always told people that I have like a dumb workhorse mentality where I approach a project I'll design like 4 or 5 different games all at once, trying to design a single game.
Right.
Adam's much more careful about his approach. I get angry sometimes about how we approach things, so I call him lazy. But really, he's just more thoughtful than me because I'll just start going at it and see what sticks. But I think my strength in that department is. And Adam will probably attest to this as well, is I can get things to the table much faster than him.
Yeah.
I will just I won't think too hard about it. I'll just get it to a point where we can play it and see what's wrong with it. Because, when I was a novelist, I was, working on books. As a writer, I never thought I was a great writer, but I was really good at failing fast, which is what everyone tells you to do in creative processes, is just get your kinks out, as early as possible. So that's probably my greatest strength between how we design.
Yeah, because, the creative process, a lot of times people will say the hardest part is getting started, and that is not your hardest part. You have you start things, from what I know of you, you've always got something going on, and so it seems like that is a strength for sure.
Yeah, it's got a double-edged thing too. It's like it kind of can be a weakness because like not knowing when to relax and just unwind, it really makes me irritable in a lot of ways. So it makes probably Adam stressed out more working with me because I'm constantly flinging ideas and sometimes I don't shut up. So that could be a downside, but I think it makes up for the productivity level because we just have we can take on more contracts, and because we still work for other publishers as well outside of Blacklist. We're not exclusive, even though we're full time, which is a good setup. But most of our focus is Blacklist, obviously, because it's our day-to-day stuff. Sure. But yeah, just because of how we operate, we can take on more projects than we probably should.
Well, I don't think you guys are alone in that.
Yeah.
Ken, I'm going to try here. Ken Aguasa asks, what got you hooked on designing? Was it a gradual occurrence or one time it just clicked, or were there any milestones that you can remember?
Yeah, there's like 2 aspects to that, because one of them is just my personality. I just have this weird quirk where if I'm into as a fan, if I'm into any sort of creative thing, like whether it's music, books, games, I naturally kind of just tend to want to create things in that arena.
Sure.
Because, when I started, I always tell you, Mike, when I started off being a big fan of music, I became a drummer and started playing in heavy metal bands. Right. And then I started reading a lot of fantasy books, and I want to write a fantasy book. And then same thing happened with games. I get obsessive and I just want to be involved in everything. But I think with games, the reason it became such a hook for me, because these other things, I don't really do much music anymore besides just hitting drums for fun.
Right.
And I don't really write books anymore, obviously. But games stuck with me because I think it's just the best of both worlds for me, because I like thematic stuff. I like movies. I like books. But I like being interactive because I'm, I'm a busy person, my mind. So like games let me do both, and being able to create in that space, it checks a lot of boxes for me creatively. Because when I first started playing games, I never thought about actually designing, because I thought it was more of a mathematical process, like a scientific method or something. I'm not an engineer, so I don't want to design a game, Right. But when I found out it's more just trial and error and just seeing what works, I'm like, hey, I'm good at that, so I'll give it a shot.
Right. And I would guess that you can scratch a little bit of the kind of writer itch, especially with some of the games that you guys tend to do, which is going to have maybe a little bit more of a thematic element, especially the card-driven games, where you can even just with flavor text or creating kind of narrative behind these when you have character-driven decks in your modular deck system, you have some overarching narrative. So I would think that you can kind of scratch that itch. Now, the thing you need to do is start putting in some soundtracks to your games where you're creating the music and have that. I mean, there have been games that have come with soundtracks, Brady. I think it's time to step up with some symphonic metal soundtracks to your games, don't you think?
The very first game I attempted to design was a Lorengard game. Lorengard was our band, We had a book because there's a whole book that told the story of the album because it was a concept album, and naturally I was like, well, I'm going to design a game for this. Sure. But the band kind of just fizzled out, so I didn't really pursue it much more. But it was on track at one point.
So it was in the works, right?
Yeah, it just never came to fruition.
All right, we've got some wonderful guests. We've got one or both of the Kirbys are here, and Kabuki Kid is here. Hello to everybody. Cora Lou is here, and Cora Lou has a question. What are your favorite mechanisms or the most unusual you've seen?
That's a tough one because I'm so all over the place with those. Like I'll pick something I like about every game I play. Mm-hmm. Try to go most recently. I think what comes to mind most recently is it's a very subtle thing, but I was playing. You play this Death May Die, Eric Lang and Adavio game. Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan of that. I thought they did a great job with it. Some of the really subtle things in that I love how enemy AI is almost transparent. It's just it's very subtle, you know, because enemies don't like always move around. They just whenever you move, they move with you. Yeah. And it's weird how I don't think I'd ever seen that done before, really, in a co-op, where they're just kind of sticky enemies that follow you around. So stuff like that, pretty subtle. Yeah. That's like I never thought of that.
Mm-hmm. And it's brutal. It's this sense of it really makes you consider barrel into a room with a bunch of enemies because you can't just run in and ninja out unless you've got a specific skill that allows you to do that. It's more than am I strong enough to defeat a bunch of those enemies. It's like, okay, if I go in there and I got to get out, I'm bringing everybody with me. You know what I mean? So it definitely changes the tactical element of that game.
Mm-hmm.
I to me, I would have thought like your favorite mechanism would be kind of, and this is just I'm making assumptions. It's not like I know you inside and out. Mm-hmm. It's just I've played a bunch of your games, and the games that you tend to be because you were pretty excited about Marvel Champions, right?
Oh yeah.
And you love Lord of the Rings. Deck building game and Arkham and Arkham card game too. I would have thought that kind of those card, the CCG type mechanism. What would you even call that mechanism? Basically, just
Well, see that's a thing is because it is. Yeah. The way I always view these things is more like because being my day job, like I kind of break stuff down differently. So when I think of like a game mechanic, I'm always thinking of like just sort of like little rule things here, not like a whole product model. Because like what you're describing, I would consider the product model. I do love my favorite product model is definitely cooperative card games. Mm-hmm. Like I love Marvel. I love the Lord of the Rings one. So that's what really got me started heavily considering design is when I was playtesting the Lord of the Rings game at FFG. Nate French, amazing designer. He was a great kind of mentor, just helped me out through the process. But yeah. As far as product models go, that's where I'm at for sure. But also, if you consider like cooperative gameplay, like a mechanic, that's obviously something I'm into because I only ever design co-op games. Most of my collection is co-ops and solo stuff. So that's definitely you got me pegged, Mike.
All right, and I've got to apologize for that. I'm still apparently when I'm talking, there's some sound issues and it's not ideal. I'm gonna get. Somehow remotely, I'm going to get Roy and I to figure this out because he's definitely got more technical skills, and I can't figure this stupid thing out. Anyway, Kabuki Kid wants to know your favorite current metal band, Brady. I'm assuming maybe she's asking me too. I'd have to think about that. Although I think I have one.
I think that's it's tough because I've been uninvolved lately in a lot of the newer metal. I always tend to gravitate toward like European metal. Mm-hmm. The one album that's constantly on my playlist though, because my daughter loves it, is this band called Beast in Black, mm-hmm. and they're a Hungarian power metal band. Okay, but they're just like they're super poppy. Like they have insane synth hooks and just insane vocals. And on the album I think it's called From Hell with Love or something. Mm-hmm. But they have a cover from that Rocky IV song. There's No Easy Way Out or whatever it is by I forget the name of the artist who recorded that. It was like Robert I forget the name, but definitely check that video
yeah.
out because it's funny in Rocky 4. It's that song where they pretty much summarize the entire Rocky franchise while he's angrily driving his car. And I was like, they started covering them. Like, I know this song.
That's perfect.
But yeah, there's a lot of European metal bands I really dig. But I think and then the most I'm excited about right now is there's a new Fairyland band. There's a band called Fairyland from France, and they have a new album coming out. I'm pretty stoked about. So most anything European symphonic power metal stuff, you'll probably get my attention.
Yeah, for me, I'm more of as I probably mentioned before, I'm more of a punk industrial type person. But I think my favorite metal band that's kind of current would be Opeth. So let's.
Oh yeah.
Let's see here. Nathan Bredfeld asks, Brady, I really liked your Warhammer card game. Can you give? And these are two separate statements. One's a statement, the other's a question. Can you give us any teasers about Contra?
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. It's getting close. We're just waiting for approvals and budgetary stuff. It's going to be an awesome package. It's going to be coming in a kind of a smaller, compact box, but it'll still have miniatures for the commandos and for the bosses. But it'll be somewhat similar to our MD. It's an MDS game, the modular deck system, kind of like Street Masters and Brook City and Altar Quest. But it'll be a much more kind of streamlined version because it's aiming for more casual players who might not be familiar with a lot of heavier hobby board games. They just like the video game and they just want to run and gun. But it's very much a run and gun cooperative mission based game. There's going to be 4 missions in the box. There's be 4 bosses that have different enemies that go with them, and then 4 different commandos. So you can mix and match all those decks together and play whatever. Either you can play through the story like in the video game, or just play whatever mix and match things you want. But it's a blast. Our playtesters are loving it.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing the final product on that because I remember playtesting that with you and Adam really early on, like the printer paper early on. Like it was just a piece of paper, and it's changed a lot from that to the last iteration I played, and I'm assuming it's even quite a bit different from that now. So I am looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's smoothed out a bit. Yeah, the earlier version you saw would have been easier to develop, but we got to start adding more stuff in because we're huge fans of the IP, and our developer Scotty, who's been driving the whole product pretty much since the design. He's done a great job just incorporating all his Contra love into the game. So it'll be great for any of the fans of the franchise.
Outstanding. You may have answered the question already, but I'm going to give you a chance. Maybe there's something else that you would want to add to this. Darren Rhodes asks, of your games you've designed and published, which do you feel are most accessible for families or lighter weight gamers?
That one's tricky because that's something I'm struggling with myself because Adam and I both, we have young kids. I have a 8-year-old daughter, Riley, who's my main gaming partner, and we play everything together. But I just feel bad because I never have any games I've designed that she would want to, dig into. But I think probably the most accessible one might be, this is a kind of a B-lister because it's not really popular. It was by a small publisher. It's called Awful Fantasy, the card game. I wouldn't say family friendly, but it's accessible because it's very easy to play. But there might be some not so family friendly artwork in there. It's a joke based game. So, but it's a very light, cheap card game. I think it's still available. But other than that, probably. I think Contra might be our most accessible yet. So we want to do more like that, and we're wanting to do more video games, like more classic video game stuff. Right. So we'll be moving more that direction for sure. But I think Contra will probably be our next big, most accessible one.
Got it. Let's see here. Got a lot of questions. I want to make sure I'm getting to different people that are asking. But there's a lot of Gator Dave. This is. I'm curious for your answer on this, Brady. I think I have a clue, but I don't want to assume. How do you feel about embracing technology into your designs and player experience?
I always think those kind of questions lead into stuff that's. Oh, sorry. I just heard an echo. Is that
No, I didn't hear
okay?
it.
It's gone now.
Okay.
I heard myself talking over myself. So, but yeah, I always assume that's kind of a lead into how some games are app enabled, like FFG does, like the Lord of the Rings app enabled game. Personally, as a player, I think it's cool. I'm not always immediately sold on that. I'm not like that's not a buying point for me. It's more like I'll take it because it's part of the experience. But I feel like it does have somewhat of a barrier for me to get to the table, and it's weird because it's not much more setup. It's just opening up my app and setting it there. But because of that, it never really comes into my design process. I never sit down and think like I'm going to design a game that uses an app. But ironically, we're doing a Street Masters digital version, digital implementation. And working with that developer, I'm always thinking these cool ways we could do games that are app enabled, where we just have that being the UI and the AI and everything, and then have like a cooperative experience on the table. So it's not out of the question. It just hasn't really been something that's been at the forefront yet, based on our scheduling and everything.
Yeah. Well, and also that just involves another whole level. I mean, because you have to then now you're dealing with coding and you're speaking almost different languages. You know what I mean? Certain games I think would probably be easier to implement as an app than others.
Yeah.
But I would feel like if I were a board game designer, I wouldn't necessarily feel like I could speak the same language. You know what I mean? As somebody who's trying to translate it into a digital format. So, all right.
Yeah, and it's kind of imposing too because there's already a lot of people who do it very, very well. So you're competing against these studios that have a handle on it. Right. And I remember, I think there's a press release that was recently put out by Christian Peterson, former CEO of FFG. Yeah. He's got his new company called Stranger Stars that has all these different like companies underneath it. Right. And one of those companies specializes in just that, in just like app enabled board games. Right. So it'll probably be seen a lot of those in the next few years.
Yeah, it makes sense. It does. Elena P., my first live with Mike. Welcome, Elena. Happy to have you here. Let's see here. All right, here we go. Now, I've been typecast, cruelly typecast as a solo gamer, and I say that jokingly because I'm happy to wear that mantle. But Brady, you are also one of those lurking in the shadow solo gamers, but not really, because you're not ashamed of it either. Ty Mad Dog asks, what are some of your favorite solo board games?
Currently, it's always a tiered question because like I have my like historical top
your
ones,
pantheon.
But currently, yeah. So I think my most played currently are Marvel Champions for sure. I've been playing a lot. I played a lot of the Cthulhu Death May Die when I first got that. I burned through a lot of those scenarios just solo to try them out, and I just got hooked. Historically, probably the most played solo game I've ever owned is the Lord of the Rings, the card game. Yep. Even though my wife was a huge fan of that, we played a 2-player a lot. I think I played that solo just. I'm afraid to even count how many times I played that. Right. And then I think I always mention the one that got me into solo gaming because I didn't really even have a strong, understanding of solitaire gaming in general, besides, Klondike Solitaire. Right. But I got this, on recommendation, I got this DVG game, the Dan Verson games, Thunderbolt Apache Leader, which is a kind of like a war game, but I used to play this video game called Jungle Strike.
I don't know if you ever
Yeah, I loved that game. I loved flying around the helicopter, and they had the missions where you're on foot and stuff. And this game really simulated that kind of tactical aerial combat. Right. So I really, really got into that game. I played the crap out of that when I first got it. So that's definitely one of my higher played solo games as well. And even though I hate mentioning it because it feels tacky, but like Street Masters, I've probably played second most after Lord of the Rings. Like that's my most played solo game, not just from playtesting, but just when I had the final product. I played that just every night, maybe once or twice a night. Yeah. It's so fast to play. So
hey, there's nothing wrong with liking your own designs, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
All right, we've got
it rarely happens, so you got to enjoy it.
Right, exactly. We've got a question from the Board Game Barrage podcast. So this could be any number of people. This could be Kellen. This could be Neil. And this could be Mark. This could be Christina. Who knows? Brady, tell us a weird game idea you've had but never shared, and then I'm supposed to tell them if it's Dice Tower approved. So you're going to pitch this idea for a weird game idea you had, and I'm apparently going to be telling you if it's approved or not.
The weirdest. I've had so many weird game ideas. My Mr. Bean licensed game. My pitch did not go well for that because it was mostly a solo idea.
Uh-huh.
But I think I had we were after the Friends license for a while because I had an idea for a sitcom like Friends game. But
nut. Every time I'd go to your
I was
house,
a Friends fiend. Yeah,
Friends would be playing in the background.
Yeah, it's my background soundtrack when I'm working because it's so easy to because I've seen them all so much I can just tune them out,
Mm-hmm.
But I had this idea of making a cooperative like sitcom driven game, and I like conceptually it's all there.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't put the effort into like designing it because I have so much other stuff that's actually paying the bills,
Right.
But if I had more free time and more passion projects I could take on, I would totally be designing either a official Friends board game or a like a knockoff,
Right.
some kind of
Pal.
referencing. Yeah, pals, acquaintances.
Right. Well, let's see here. So a Friends board game, Dice Tower Judgment,
Yep.
Unagi. Wasn't that his thing? Wasn't that Ross's thing?
That's good. Yeah.
All right.
Unagi means, what was this? A type of eel or whatever.
Right.
Smoked salmon.
All right. Let's see here. This is a good question from Elena, who came on earlier. What game would you love to see a 2-player version adaptation of, like Seven Wonders Duel, for example? I'd never thought about this. This is a really good question. I like Seven Wonders Duel much better than 2-player Seven Wonders. I like Duelosaur Island better than 2-player Dinosaur Island. Although I like Dinosaur Island quite a bit, but I do like Duelosaur better as a 2-player game. I'm trying to think of other. The Agricola 2-player game, All Creatures Big and Small. Yeah, so. That's a really good question. Do you have one in mind? Because I'd have to think.
Yeah, that's tricky because it's weird because most of I usually buy for low player counts.
Yeah.
I like to buy things that I can solo just for research stuff, but also, like I said, my main gaming partner is my daughter Riley, who's just vicious. She's constantly wanting new games to play.
Right.
But I think like if I had to stick off the top of my head, probably. There was something I was thinking of the other day that I wanted to play, but it was only 3-player, and I was like, I wish I could play that too. Can't think of what it is now though.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
The problem is
I don't think about that often.
Yeah, a lot of my favorite games are worker placement games. It seem to be anyway, and those generally work 2-player. I mean, those sometimes have to close off stuff. I don't know. I'd say viticulture, 2-player viticulture, wine for 2 or something like that. You can call it. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here.
Yeah, because Orleans is okay 2-player, but that'd be a cool one too. Because Orleans is probably my favorite like Euro-y game, and I think that those kind of like 2-player like kind of specific games are kind of usually more toward like Euro designs. So I'd probably say that's probably my favorite Euro. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good question, Elena. I like that question. I wonder if you've played either of these, Brady, because I'm going to put the question up there. I haven't played either, so I can't make a recommendation. And if you haven't either, then we'll just say flip a coin. Mason Gregory wants to know, what should I buy, Gaia Project or Terra Mystica? Have you played either of these?
No, actually, I haven't.
Nice.
No. I'm familiar with Terra Mystica, but I have never played it personally.
Yeah,
so.
And Gaia Project is Terra Mystica in space, generally speaking. So I would say, since Brady and I have absolutely no personal experience to give you, I would say pick which theme you like better.
Terra Mystica.
Fantasy
better than
or
sci-fi.
space.
So.
Yeah. I do. There are people that are pretty passionate on both sides of this argument that I've heard. A lot of people say that Gaia Project kind of smooths out some rough edges. And I want to say that some people say that you can get like kind of hemmed in really badly early in Terra Mystica, like you're kind of closed off, and Gaia Project kind of fixed that. I don't know. I mean, that's just what I hear. So sorry, Mason. two whiffs from Brady and I on that. All right. Well, Mason said he's not a huge fan of space, but.
Well, there you go.
Well, here's another question from Mason. Why not? Because since we couldn't answer his last question, I feel like we can definitely answer this one, even though it's specifically to you. But I'm sure you've got this one on lock, Brady. The question is,
okay.
Do you value the importance of solo/automa variants in games? And if so, do you plan on incorporating solos in all your future games?
I always have an interesting response to this because I personally do not like solo modes or automa. Automa or Automa? How do you pronounce it? Because most of my designs are literally solo games designed to be solo, and then I'll add the cooperative element later. Mm-hmm. Or like there's some games we've somewhat developed. We haven't fully developed yet that are competitive games, but they actually come from. We also approach the design. It's like if this was a solo game, how would the AI work and how the decision making work, and then we'll incorporate the competitiveness to it. So. That's kind of that might be like a pompous answer just because it's my own like method.
Sure.
But I think that I do think they're valuable though, because I think that just shows that there's additional thought put into widening the audience of a game. I don't think every game needs it or should have it, but it is nice to see, and it's something I always notice for sure because that affects my buying habits.
Yeah, for sure, and the fact that you generally speaking design co-ops also. You don't need an automa in a co-op game, right? Because it pretty much is solo out of the box. I mean, there are very few exceptions to that rule, but for the most part, co-op games are generally work fine as solo games. Sometimes you have to run multiple characters, and that, like Zombicide, I mean, in most of those scenarios, they want you to run 6 characters. I mean, I get that the game is simple. I get that you're really chucking dice, but I don't want to control 6 characters. I'm sorry.
3 I strive against that because it takes the thematic. It affects thematic elements too, because it just feels weird because it makes you feel like more a director and not like you're this character.
Yeah.
So I always prefer to have games where there's exceptions always, but I always prefer when cooperative games solo. It's like you're just playing one guy and the game scales to that. Right.
So. Agreed. All right. Cora Lou asks. Most recent turkeys. I'm assuming this means games that you did not particularly enjoy. I'm going to look through my phone to look at my most recent plays. I think I know what I'm going to say. Yeah, and okay. Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, sure, I'll go.
Okay.
I think in recent memory, I was a little let down by Power Rangers. I thought the design was cool.
Yeah.
But I had the Kickstarter bundle. It's got its perks. It's just for what that game is. I wish it was a little smoother and kind of less calculating in a way. But I think the theme is goofy enough where it could have just been like a very, very, very light game. Yeah. I think it's a little not light enough. But that's probably the most recent one I've experienced. Because I don't know, like most of the stuff I've played recently, I've been pretty lucky. I think I've play tested a few stinkers that I probably shouldn't say,
right,
because it's like as a professional courtesy, sure. But
right. So the one that I've played very recently that I really didn't enjoy, and I'm going to be interested if you play this game, Brady, what your thoughts would be on it, because it is It's a cooperative game. It's Reichbusters, and and it's this. Now I will preface this by saying this: we played with, I think, pretty much just the base box elements, and there are like boxes for days, and there were a lot of cool things about it. Like basically, it felt like Wolfenstein theme wise, which is great. I think that's a cool theme. The art and everything was really good. I felt like the tone of it was just right. It was like not too silly, but not too serious. So there were some things about it that I liked, and we were all really jazzed about sitting down to play that game. This was right before we had to kind of go into our social distancing isolation mode that we played this. And it was a slog. It was for a
Really?
game that was supposed to be like kick in the door, throw a grenade, punch somebody in the face, move to the next room, pick this stuff up. It's supposed to feel like this, like your heart should be pumping. Instead, it was like the
Hmm.
super procedural, flip through the book 15 times. What does this keyword mean? Oh, wait, I've got this keyword on this, but that keyword, does that tie with this or what? It was just like, oh, come on. You just want to throw dice, punch somebody in the face, pick something up, and move to the next room. And it was just so. It just now look. I assume the more you play it, the less you're going to have to refer, and maybe eventually the game will
Right.
turn into what I wanted it to be right out of the box. And so maybe I'm being unfair. It's only a first impression. I will say that it's only a
Right.
first
Right.
impression. It may turn out to be much better if you can invest the time to play it enough so that that rule set becomes ingrained. But man, it was rough. It was rough when I played it. So
Yeah.
that
I
was
I
rough.
get my copy Saturday actually,
Oh,
so it's interesting that came up. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
so
So
we'll
let me
we'll
know.
see because I saw Z's review also on YouTube,
Yeah,
and I've heard a couple other things too, but it's interesting because the way it's funny hearing how you wanted the game to like you wanted to be like kicking the door and
yeah.
an action like Wolfenstein like a shooter essentially.
Hmm.
When I saw the game I immediately thought oh awesome they're doing like a commando style like
Hmm.
infiltration style game, so
Right.
I'm expecting more of like
Hmm.
a like not necessarily a slog, but more like a calculated approach where
Okay.
you're like,
Okay.
carefully sneaking in. But
Yeah.
I don't know because I haven't. I usually approach those Kickstarters as not even watching the videos or the
Hmm.
playthroughs. I just kind of want to see what I get
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
experience it. I mean, fortunately, I get this stuff through trade, so I'm not
Yeah.
like forking over $200 for a big box of stuff.
Right.
So,
Right. Well, let me pull a Men in Black on you, and you just forget everything I just said, and I want to know
no,
what
no,
your
yeah, I want to know.
I want
Yeah.
to know what your impression is after you play it, because you know you may under those kind of guidelines, you may actually enjoy it because there is this more of everything you do basically could cause noise, and so
Hmm.
if you're looking at it more of a stealth game then maybe, but there's also this timer basically that's ticking against you, and so I don't know. To me,
Oh yeah.
I guess the maybe it's a case of misplaced expectations because I
Yeah.
placed
Well.
expectations on the game that it was going to be this run and gun, bust through the door,
Mhm.
you just gotta Leroy Jenkins through the whole thing, but maybe that's not what the game is trying to do. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Well, you're right because that's what the artwork kind
yeah,
of conveys. Like the artwork is like a guy with these two guns, and
right, right.
and like so it could be my misplaced expectations as well. But honestly, I think that I'm probably going to be very cautious about it just because of even before you guys mentioned it,
Yeah,
before you or Z mentioned it, I knew that there was like the kind of the zombicide approach where they just have these like kind of keywords,
yeah,
but they're only ever like in this like appendix.
right.
And personally, I always avoid stuff like that. I really hate cross referencing and
Mhm.
relying on memory. I'd rather just be here's what this does
Yeah,
right here, either an icon that shows you or some text that tells you. So
exactly.
I'll be skeptical anyway.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoy it, and I do mean that. And other people that play it and have it and enjoy it, I'm glad you enjoy it. I get no joy out of not liking a game. Okay.
Right.
Oh man, Brady, are you ready for a softball, an underhand softball pitch? Because I have a feeling I know what you may say here. Nathan Sampson
Okay.
asks, "What's a good solo dungeon crawl that's not named Gloomhaven and not published by FFG?"
Well, uh, delivering this summer. So hopefully, even if Gen Con doesn't happen this year or
Yeah.
gets delayed, around the Gen Con time, there'll be a game available called Alter Quest that's heavily inspired by both our previous design Street Masters, but also like Hero Quest, those classic nostalgic dungeon crawls. Like one thing I always am cautious about with dungeon crawls is I hate like building all these tiles out, like
Mm-hmm.
either during the game or before the game, building out this whole like dungeon to go crawling through. So Altar Quest takes place on just a board. You just unfold a board, and then it's got rooms like Hero Quest, but different configurations per quest, and you just explore it. You just set it up and go, so it's a lot quicker to the table. So check out Altar Quest. It comes out hopefully in July, August timeframe.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, like I said, I saw that question. And I'm like, oh man, I'm just going to serve this up on a platter to Brady here. There you go, type of thing. So, yeah.
I'll also mention too, if it's fantasy specific,
Mm-hmm.
this is kind of in the same vein, but our upcoming Kickstarter next week on the 14th, Tuesday, we're doing our very first miniatures only campaign. So it's more geared toward dungeon crawlers, role playing groups, miniature skirmish players. But we're just releasing a very affordable box of just fantasy themed miniatures. So if you're dungeon crawling in like RPG settings and stuff, that's what we're putting this out for. So it's our first Blacklist Miniatures Kickstarter. It's a new division of our company. So that's another thing I'll throw out there because that kind of goes hand in hand with dungeon crawling is a bunch of miniatures. So.
Absolutely. And I'm going to say, because I always throw this out there, and I don't think it gets enough love. I feel like I'm the only person that shouts this game out. I think Masmorra, Dungeons of Arcadia, is a really good solo cooperative when you play, because you have to play cooperative to play solo dungeon crawl, and Altar Quest, of course, too. I do legitimately like that game. I'm not just sucking up to the guests. Another question from Mason Gregory. I'm not afraid to go to the well again. Look, no one's the boss of me. I do what I want. All right, Brady, what acclaimed designer would you love to collaborate or work with on a future game? You already work with acclaimed designer Adam Sadler all the time, but what other acclaimed designer would you love? I like that. All right, yeah, that was good.
Yeah, the Adam Sandler guy I'm still from those movies. I think it's another topical response, which I don't know if this is a cheating response, but one of my most one of the most influential designers on me early on when I got into this whole process this whole profession, Richard Lanius. He designed Arkham Horror.
Yeah.
He's designed a lot of things. But at the time when I started FFG, he designed a game called Defenders of the Realm.
Yeah.
And it was just a big box. It looked super generic to me, to be honest, like just the most generic fantasy stuff. And it's like Larry Elmore, so it's very beautiful, like paintings and everything. But it just the combination of the setting and like the art, and it's like, oh, this looks like a big generic fantasy adventure game. But I just fell in love with it. I was like, this is awesome. And I kept talking to Lanius every time he came to FFG because that's when I was working there, and he visited a lot, obviously, for all the different Arkham projects. Anyway, we became pretty close over the years, and we actually Adam, and Richard designed a game together. The reason this is like maybe a cheating answer, because it happened like a few years ago. We started design back in it was like probably maybe 2016 or 2017, I forget. But it's been a long process getting it because we're working remotely and we have other projects going on. Right. But it's going to kickstart in July this year. So
awesome.
They haven't announced it yet, so I can't tell you like the name of it or anything. But that was who one of my main goals was to design a game with Richard Lanius, and we managed to knock that out. So I'll think about who next would be on the list. But I think if I'm thinking of somebody else besides that one, I'd probably Corey Koneska. He's a buddy of mine. We haven't really we've worked together, but we haven't actually designed a game together.
Right.
So I probably have to throw that name out there because I really love what he does.
Yeah. Richard Lanius is like one of the nicest human beings on the planet. I mean, like I've interacted with him at cons, and first of all, I'm like, how do you have any idea who I am? First of all, because this guy's a titan, right? I mean, he's kind of up there on the Mount Rushmore, and he just seems like the most down to earth, nice guy. It seems you always hear other game designers talking about how he just kind of like helps them out and kind of almost just mentors, and he just seems like a really, really cool guy.
Oh yeah, he definitely is. Yeah, that's part of the reason why like I really wanted to work with him for so long, is because it just felt like every time I got to meet him and hang out with him, and I would just talk to him about how much I liked the Defenders of the Realm, he would genuinely be like appreciate it and want to talk about what I liked about it. And, like he
Right.
wanted to know the details. He wasn't just like, oh thanks, yeah, another one of you,
Yeah.
another one of those fans, you know.
Right,
But
right.
it was a funny story too, because we were both kind of guests at guests of honor at Grand Con in Grand Con, Michigan.
Yeah.
And that's when we were talking to a few publishers about the game we were working on together. So Adam, Richard, and one of the publishers we were talking to were walking along just through the exhibit hall, chatting about this, and like, halfway through the discussion, we're like, "Where'd Richard go?" We look back, and Richard had stopped at some table because some other people were playing one of his games, so he was off teaching it. And we're like, "We're having a meeting right now," but he's just so engaged in the community and like his fans and everything, and he loves games so much.
That's awesome, and you can tell a lot of times in the designs you can feel passion.
Yeah, for sure.
Nathan Breadfelt asks, what upcoming game are you guys most excited about? I've got my answer, and it's not going to be your answer, Brady. I don't think you particularly like this person's games that I'm really excited about. I'm excited for.
Well, my answer won't be your answer either, so don't worry.
Okay, fair. I'm excited for Sleeping Gods. I really am looking forward.
I am.
Oh, are you?
I am. Yeah.
Good,
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
I'm really interested to see where Lockett takes this. I think they've gotten. And I always get grief in comments, and I understand because I love Above and Below. I think it's a terrific game, but I do think that Near and Far is a step up. That's just my opinion. It doesn't make Above and Below lesser than. I just think Near and Far is a little more. And maybe you don't want a little more. Maybe you're happy with Above and Below. I am, but I want to see where it goes next. Near and Far I thought was great.
Near and Far is better.
Yeah. I think it is.
Near and Far is better. You're right.
I think it is, and I have a lot of hope that Sleeping Gods is going to be kind of even better than Near and Far. So that's my choice.
That was a Kickstarter recently, right? Like
recently,
last year.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I backed that one. Yeah, okay. I'm pumped to get that. Yeah,
cool.
I backed that on day one.
Nice.
Yeah, I think my most anticipated. It's kind of weird because I shouldn't like this game. My most anticipated is the Resident Evil 3 board game from Steamforged, and it's 100% of the theme. Mm-hmm. But I have the Resident Evil 2 game, and it's funny because as a designer, it's hard to enjoy certain games because if you feel close enough to something and you're like, I would have done this differently or this differently, mm-hmm. and the game just doesn't feel good all the time, it's easy just to hate it. And I should hate Resident Evil 2 so much for so many different like design reasons, but like I just am. I played it all the time. Me and Riley just played through the whole entire campaign, both A and B files, and it was like 20 scenarios or something, and she was having a blast with it. And I was like, we got to finish this because Resident Evil 3 is launching this month, so we got to knock this one out. And but yeah, I think I shouldn't be that into that game, but I'm just nuts about Resident Evil. So
look, I mean, theme means a lot. I mean, it just does. If the game is a bad game, it's a bad game, but a really good theme and something that you're just like, or an IP you're super passionate about, look, you're going to be more forgiving. Even if the game's not the best game in the world, you're going to be more forgiving. That's just human nature. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Hopefully it's a great game.
Yeah. And the weird thing is oh, sorry, what was that?
Oh, I was saying hopefully it's a great game and it's a theme you love. You know what I mean?
Oh, exactly. Yeah. It's funny too because there's a weird distinction between just like good game design, like good tabletop game design, but also good thematic implementation. Because I do think there's some failings in the actual game design, which I'm not, I don't feel, superior enough to advise how this game could be better. Sure. But I think there's some things that could be better. But the way that it implements the theme of the video game is just so spot on that it feels so close to that experience that I think that's another reason why I can be so forgiving. So like I think there's also talent there to be able to do that, to be able to transition that, even if it doesn't feel exactly like a great board game, it's still a great implementation of the themes. So
that's a good point. Sometimes things just don't translate well, and if they did the best they could in this medium, Jerry D asks, have you ever given away or sold a collection or board game that you regretted a few years later? You and I both you more than me, I would think, cycle through games.
Yeah.
I am not as good at it as I should be. I've tried to, but I actually have an answer, and it's because it didn't make the cut when I moved to Florida, and I almost immediately regretted it. But do you have one offhand?
I think it's weird because almost not really, just because I get so many games from various areas. I have to kind of just shuffle them out.
Right.
And like honestly, I'm kind of a minimalist in a lot of ways. I don't like to just have stuff that I'm not using. So usually, even if I got rid of something that I wish I had, I would just get it back somehow. I either buy it back or whatever. But I think I somewhat just a little bit regret getting rid of my Hero Quest. Because I had a version from when I was a kid, and I had it kept sticking around because it was like an heirloom, but it was all beat up and it was some of the pieces were broken and everything. But I think I probably maybe should have kept it just for nostalgia. But like I said, I'm such a minimalist. I'm not like a material person that I just I barely think about it. But if I had to choose something, that'd probably be it.
Yeah, that's fair. And my thing is, I could choose something that I've sold or traded that is now out of print and really expensive. I mean, there's tons of examples of that, but I'm not even going to get into that. The thing that I sold that I'll probably just get it again, because as soon as I got rid of it, I was like, I really shouldn't have done that. It's Nemo's War. I don't I don't even know why. Well, I got rid of it because I was trying to sell everything, almost everything, and that sold almost right away, and understandably, because it's a really good game. And I thought, well, you know what? I don't play it all that often. I've got so many games. I'll just, I was being ruthless with what I was selling. I was selling almost anything I could. But that one, I just had a pang. I'm like, you know what, man, I really want to play that again. So I'll probably get it. I'll probably get it again. That's just the way.
It's a great production.
It
so
really
like,
is.
There's sometimes I'll get rid of something and I'll feel bad just because the production's so dang good. Like I might not play it ever, but it's like this game looks so good. And like, because the same company, they did the Dawn of the Zeds.
Yeah.
And like, I really loved that when I got it, but I just never really played it.
Yeah.
And like once I stopped playing it, I didn't want to relearn the rules and everything, so I ended up just getting rid of it. But sometimes I'm like, man, that game looked really good. I'd break it out just to look at it. Sometimes it was such a beautiful game.
Yeah, I've done that before. Kabuki's got a question for you, Brady. Have you ever played V Commando solo game, which sort of emulates the old Commandos video game with stealth over run and gun?
Funny, we were just talking about regretting getting rid of stuff. I do regret getting rid of that game. I had everything for that game. I backed it, but then I had a buddy at FFG, and we just do trades every once in a while. We just kind of trade new stuff because like I just wanted to show him the game. I was like, yeah, check this game out. I sent it to him, and I never followed up to get it back or anything. I think they sent me some of the new FFG stuff, so I just got distracted. But that game is great, and I wish I still had a copy of it. I wish I had all the stuff for it because it was a really cool game.
All right, here's an interesting. I scrolled way down because a lot of times what happens is I'll get bogged in questions, then I don't get to some of the more recent ones, but I'll jump back and forth. This is from Taliz13. Mike, if you could request a theme for Brady to design a game around, what would it be? Bonus points for the mechanics involved. I want an Old West game. I want a game set in the Old West. And preferably one that involved the exploding dice that you and your bro are big fans of. I just see that in a shootout type of a scenario. I don't know. I feel like that's one of those kind of iconic settings that is not done very often or very well in board games. There's a recent one that I really liked called Coloma. But that's a straight Euro. I really like that game quite a bit. And then Western Legends is also quite popular, although that's more of like a sandboxy game. I'd like to see one that's a little bit more of like dice-driven, maybe just a little bit out of, cooperative would be fine because I know you guys like to work in the cooperative wheelhouse. So that would be my request. So you can have
I was going to say, hopefully you like cooperative. Hopefully you like cooperative games because we do have a Wild West game.
Are you serious?
we've been kicking around. So yeah,
really?
it's probably not slated for like another maybe in a year or two, but it's out. A few games. There's a few games ahead of it because our schedule keeps getting shuffled around. But actually, before Hour of Need happened, we were going to do the Wild West game, then we are going to push it forward in the schedule. But it's been kicking around for a while because we're big fans of that setting as well. Okay. So that's cool. Expect something from us.
All right, beautiful. well, we hadn't talked about that, so I'm actually very excited about that. And I'm definitely down to play test. All right.
Cool.
Let's see. I think we talked about that. Yes, Kabuki is shaming me about Nemo's War. Nemo's Kid. That's the follow-up, Kabuki. Nemo's Kid. It's going to be that's the 2-player only version. I don't know. I'm trying.
That's the family game.
Family game. Let's see. Jessica Cardinal. Yes, Cardinal. Any games you guys have been playing recently? Well, anything recently is going to have to be for me in the solo realm. I'm playing solo at this point. Let's see. I'm just going to go through some things I've been playing recently. I played a co-op game called Endangered, which I've got right here. That's it's good. I like it quite a bit. I've only played it once, so it's a first impression. It's basically kind of about saving the habitat, saving animals. The habitat's getting deforested. That's one side of the board. There's another. That's with tigers. Another side of the board that has otters, and so you're trying to keep the otters cooperative. I think I've mentioned that. I liked that. There's an expansion for Rise of Tribes coming out, so I've been replaying Rise of Tribes with that expansion that's going to be coming to Kickstarter. I played. I've talked about this a lot, and I think I even talked to you about it, Brady. I don't know. The Fallout Shelter game, this little worker placement game from FFG. Man, that game was so good. I really, really liked that. Oh, yeah. That was another one of the last games that we played as a group at the Dice Tower before we kind of had to separate. Man, that game was good. It comes like in a little, which I usually don't like, a tin, like it's a lunchbox, like an old school lunchbox. But that little game packs a lot into that box. So I really, really like that a lot. So I've been playing that. What about you, Brady? What you been playing?
My daughter's been nagging me like every day to read the rule book for Endangered because since I got that in, she's like, I want to play this, and I just haven't gotten around to reading it yet.
Oh, so man, you'd be able to pick it up in 10 minutes. You'd be able to.
Okay, I should just skim it then real quick.
Yeah.
The other one, Fallout Shelter, it was funny because I was FFG when I was pitching our game that we did for them, which is, I'm not sure when that's going to be coming out, but that's our next design with FFG. But they had that set up before it was going to print, that Fallout Shelter game.
Yeah.
And I kept making little comments when we were doing our pitch, like, hey, let's go play that afterward. I want to check that out. But they just kept getting distracted by doing other stuff. Like, let's go get some lunch. I'm like, let me just play this game. This is cool. So I never got around to playing it, but it looks cool. So I got to check that out. As far as what I've been playing recently, I've played a lot of Villainous with Riley. I bought all the boxes for that.
Sure.
I bought the Unmatched Jurassic Park because I had to play as that. It's that guy's name, Roger something, the hunter guy that's Clever Girl.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to play as that guy. And then I've been playing a ton of Resident Evil 2, like I said. We just finished up a campaign finally, like a year long off and on, but that was a good achievement for Riley. She was pretty happy. I think that's pretty much, and then tons of playtesting, obviously. Sure. I think those are the big ones I've been playing lately.
Got it. Kabuki, what game slipped under the radar that you love and wish you could sort of champion to bring attention to? So kind of under the radar games that we really like that not a lot of people are playing or talking about. The one that kind of comes to mind for me, that kind of shoots to mind, is Petrichor, which is this game that has a really weird theme where basically you're a cloud. Every player is a cloud, and you've got these little like 3D cardboard construct clouds and raindrops that are these like glass beads that sit inside of it. And it's a dual area control game where you are trying to move your clouds around and spill raindrops onto the board. The board is made up of these tiles that are arranged in a like I think a 3x3, and they have different crops. These tiles are all different crops, and they sprout at different levels of rain. And it's just a really, really clever game that just slipped under the radar. I don't particularly know why. Maybe because it's a weird theme, and not everyone loves weird themes like I do, apparently. I don't know why, but not everyone loves weird themes. So I would go with Petrichor.
I think I'm looking at my shelf because I'm obviously thinking of something I own that maybe slipped under the radar. I don't know if it slipped under the radar. It just got bad reviews, but Discover, Lands Unknown. I really love that design and that production. I totally understand the product model having a really negative effect on people's reception of the game, because I don't think it was appropriate for the unique game, where you get different content. If they just made that game and put it in a cheaper box and didn't give it a gimmick, I think that'd be just an incredible product. And I still love the design. I know the product model wasn't ideal.
Yeah, I like the fact that they were trying something different. I really don't have an issue with them trying something different. I didn't like it as much as you did, but I thought it was pretty good. I think that it took playing a lot to understand kind of what was going on. It's not a game that I think is going to reveal itself on the first play or two. You know what I mean? I feel like it's a game that you need to play a few times before you get it, I suppose.
Yeah. Another problem with it, well, not a problem with it, but I think another issue with just the perception of it. And it's funny because I was talking to Corey about it. Corey and I are really close friends. Yeah. We used to hang out all the time when I worked at FFG, and we still chat and everything. But I remember when we hung out a lot, I would talk about this Game Boy game I was obsessed with as a kid, like back in middle school. It was called Survival Kids.
Okay.
And it was like it was kind of like Legend of Zelda, but you were just a kid washed up on a castaway island, and you were going around trying to find different equipment and like put it together. You found a pocket knife, you could put it on a stick and make a spear. Yeah. All these different things. You're like upgrading your gear. So it felt like an RPG, but it was just on this like charming little island.
Yeah.
And I was obsessed with this game. I was God, I loved every aspect of this game. And Corey told me when he was thinking about Discover, that was always on his mind, me talking about this game. Yeah. And that's probably because I talk way too much about it. It just, got stuck in his head. But I think that's why I appreciate it so much, is because of where it was spawned, where the idea came from. So that's probably why I'm such a big fan. And I think also I love the whole like stranded on desert island theme. Like that's one of my favorite themes. Right. There's like zombies, superheroes, and then like castaways. Yeah. I love those three things in any order, really. Sure. I love them all. But I think that's probably why I'm such a champion for that game, and why when I play it, maybe I see through a lot of the other failings people don't like about it. But
all right, let's have a couple more quick ones. We're a little over. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine, yeah.
Solo Play Gamer, have you played any Vital Lacerda games? They are good solo. I've played, let's see, CO2, which I like quite a bit. I haven't played the new version of it. I played Lisboa, which was that one was a little too much for me. It made my head explode. And I played the Gallerist, which I liked quite a bit. So I think those are the 3 Lacerdas I've played.
I don't think I've played any Lacerdas, and not for lack of trying, because it's a name that keeps popping up. Yeah. Oddly enough, whenever I rarely go to Reddit for board game stuff, but when I've gone there to see stuff about Blacklist Games, it seems like there's either like a few people or maybe just one person who's outspoken who doesn't like a lot of our designs, but they always reference Lacerda. Yeah. So maybe I should check out Lacerda's designs and see what I'm missing out. But like, it seems like whoever doesn't like our games likes Lacerda games, so I'll check it out. But I've never experienced them. I don't know much about them, except for they seem to be really high regarded, so yeah, I'll check them out.
They absolutely do. All right, let's see. Let's get one more question. Let's do one more question. I'd love to sit and chat with you all day, because we haven't had a chance to talk in a while anyway, so this has been a good excuse.
It's been a while.
So let's see here. Let's go with, I think I know the answer to this one, but let's end with this. Henrique Ribeiro asks a question for you. Do you and your brother have the same taste in board games?
Not really. I mean, it's weird because Adam's kind of like an omni gamer. I mean, we're both kind of like omni gamers. I think I'm much more drawn to actual board games and card games. Oh, actually, probably me more card games. I'm much more driven to card games.
Yeah.
But I think that they're close enough to board games that there are enough I like of both. But Adam is very, very, very much a GW, like Games Workshop person, like just miniatures and everything about miniatures games. And he's like, we're both video gamers as well, but I think he's much more of a video gamer than me. So we have these differences in games, but I think I probably have much more love for just board games in general than him. But as far as like different types of board games, for example, he does not like Resident Evil 2 at all, even though he loves the Resident Evil franchise. Right. So that's just me. Like, we have different tastes there because for some reason, maybe I've played it more than him and I found the quirky love for it. But, but yeah, we don't get to play enough games like just 2-player, because it's weird playing 2-player with Adam, because it's almost like playing against yourself in a way. It's really weird because we think very similarly, and we end up, and because we're both designers, we end up kind of just playing a turn and then like, okay, we get the game, we understand what's going on, so we'll just get distracted or something. So we don't get a lot of in-depth gaming together, but I think we do have those differences just in general, you know.
So this is I lied, because this question is going to come from me. Can you play a game? Can you play a game and just play it on its surface without thinking about it as a designer? Is that something that you are even physically capable of doing, or will you always break a game down to its mechanics, its design philosophy? Can you close off that portion of your brain, or is that impossible?
For better or worse, not really. Yeah. It's like I can ignore it. I can like try not to speak about it or anything, or like bring up my opinions. But I feel like no matter what I do, and it's mostly for the better, because when I'm playing, even if a game I might not love, there's probably something I like about what's going on. There's probably something I can learn from or whatever. So I am always thinking. So I don't think I can ever get away from that, really. It's just, in my nature when it comes to playing. But I think I enjoy games almost more because of that. So it works out, because I'm not a competitive player. I almost never care if I win or lose. I usually just want to experience what the game has to offer. So it helps out that way.
Awesome. Well, this has been, thanks for staying on a little bit later with me, Brady. I appreciate it. And thank you, chat, for all of your fantastic questions as always. Thank you for your patience with my technical difficulties, and I am going to do everything I can to bring the hive mind of the Dice Tower together to figure out why my stupid microphone will not cooperate with me on just these live chats. On everything else, they work fine. My podcast, no issues. The live top 10s, no issues. This is the bugaboo. It doesn't want to work. But thank you for your patience. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for joining us on this little dose of positivity that we like to do every night. It's always a joy. And thanks again, Brady, for coming on and for sharing your wisdom with us all.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Stay safe.